Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for the seventh part of our Differentiator series of setting your partnership up for success over search engine optimizations, SEO. We are going to give it just a few more moments before we get started so that everybody can grab another cup of coffee if you need it, make a little bit of popcorn, whatever you'd like to do. We've got a nice pony show for you here today. We're looking forward to it. Thank you for your patience. We'll get started in about a minute or so. Thank you, everybody, for being patient with us. We're giving it just one more moment before we get started. Just want to allow everybody the opportunity to hop on before we do get started. All right, I think we're good to go. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Ben Balslug. I am the Senior Director of Business Development for AdCellerant. Today, I have with me Jonathan Musio, our Chief Business Development Officer, and we also have Sam Rahimi, our VP of Earned and Owned Media. Today, for our webinar, which is part 7 of our Differentiator series for setting up your partnership for success, it's over search engine optimizations, SEO for short. We are going to start off with an introduction today, talk a little about who AdCellerant is, what we are, what we do, an introduction to Sam and our SEO specialist team. We want to dive into specifically how to leverage SEO to generate more opportunities for your advertisers' businesses, the benefits that it has for your organizations as well, and also what the soup to nuts process actually looks like, what that support is that you get from the AdCellerant team. And then we're going to round it out with some do's and don'ts of a good SEO pitch and easy ways to get started. I do want to remind everybody, we do have a lovely chat feature available in this webinar here today. Feel free to shoot some chats in and ask any questions, and we will be happy to either address those on the spot in the chat, or we'll save them for the end of the webinar. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get it started and tell all of you a little bit about who AdCellerant is. First off, we're an advertising technology and digital advertising company. Our goal is to make quality digital advertising accessible to every business. The way that AdCellerant does this is by partnering up with media organizations and agencies across the country. We do have a small international footprint. We are based out of Denver, Colorado, so everything is completely US based that you get from the AdCellerant team. You have people right here ready to really support anything that you're working on, and you're not having to wait a half day, a full day to get responses. And I'm really proud to actually tell you all that just earlier this week, we were actually nominated the best agency in Denver with the best customer service. So I definitely take that with a lot of pride, and I definitely give a lot of kudos to our account management team and our SEO specialist teams and all of that to be able to make it happen. We leverage our proprietary technology, and our partners leverage that same technology, which is called UI.marketing, to support you throughout the entire digital sales process, from pre-sales support to sales enablement, execution and fulfillment, and we tie it all together with reporting. And this is all done within a completely white labeled environment. So it's not you out there selling AdCellerant products. You're out there to represent your own brands, your own organizations, and represent them as your own. I would say one of the #1 differentiators that we have versus anybody or any other different digital service providers out there is that we do not sacrifice quality over anything. It ends up proving that way with the high retention rates that we're able to provide with not just our partners, but also all of our advertisers as well. And we do consider ourselves to be a full stack digital agency solution. Everything from programmatic display to pre-roll video, streaming radio, streaming TV, and OTT. We've got some pretty creepy geofencing products. We do support social media as well. We are a Google Premier partner, so we do run a lot of really great Google campaigns. We're going to dive into some of those benefits that we have today as well. We support with managed ad operations, email, and obviously some SEO. What we're going to do to get started is I'm going to hand it off to Sam here to go ahead and introduce himself. But when we dive into this, you're going to learn about how you can leverage SEO to generate more opportunities for your advertiser's business. When I talk about SEO specifically, whether it's to an advertiser directly, I'm typically white labeled. I've worn a lot of different hats for a lot of our partners before. SEO is like an overhead cost. It's about paying to keep your lights on. We think about what SEO is these days, and it's a very robust, confusing, and just really crazy product, to be honest with you. I typically like to bring in the experts. That's why I have Sam here with me today, so that he can dive into the details for us. But he's going to do a great job of keeping it high level for us to understand how to leverage all these things. And SEO has a great benefit to your companies as well, and we're going to highlight some of those. So I want to give it away to Sam right now to go ahead and introduce himself, talk a little bit about his background, what he does for AdCellerant, and then we'll dive into the rest of the presentation. So Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell us about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. My name's Sam Rahimi. I'm the VP of Earned and Owned Media here at AdCellerant. As far as where I've kind of been, where I'm going, we started, I started on the SEO side, but specifically on the agency side when I was getting into SEO. Worked on a number of different styles of accounts, many of which you've heard of. Some of you have probably even worked with, Fortune 500 companies and the like. And that's ultimately what led me to AdCellerant and where I'm responsible for essentially some of the things we have here, setting up the direction of the Earned and Owned Media department. And some of you may be even asking, what in the world is Earned and Owned Media? When we classify Earned and Owned Media, apart from being a fancy way of saying, another way of saying SEO, it encompasses a lot more well beyond that. It's all of the things that a business can earn online. It's all the businesses, all of what a business can own online, whether it's from, earning links and rankings and business to owning content and websites and listings. There are a number of, it's very much an umbrella term, right? And there's much that can be done just within SEO to facilitate the ultimate benefit here. With that, I ultimately get to get into cultivating product ideas, putting together processes and aligning them with you guys, our partners, ultimately monitoring the campaign performance and ensuring that we are holding ourselves to Ben's point about that high standard of quality, making sure that, again, we continue to provide the value to our clients, of course, by way of you guys being our partners. As far as where we're going to get started, the first thing to note, and the one thing that I want to make very, very clear about SEO is it's a great, amazing thing. It's a passion of mine because it's not just a marketing tool, right? In its most basic form, SEO allows us to stay ahead of kind of these online landscape changes, whether that be a change that a competitor makes or a change in a market or a change that Google or any search engine is making. SEO allows us to kind of flex to those situations. It enables us to kind of be available in those situations and continue to retain the performance that we've seen going forward. It also, of course, allows us to stand out within our industry and market. That's one of the main functions of search engine optimization. We need to be alive and activated online. But beyond that, it is designed to support everything else. It's so foundational that we see the support it can provide with other marketing channels that we're working on is invaluable. And at a minimum, it allows us to add flexibility to the budgets that we have elsewhere. To understand SEO, you also have to really understand the structure of a search engine, right? This is our playing field, search engine optimization. We're trying to be as optimal as possible within this being our system. And when it comes to search engines, we've all seen these in some form or fashion, right? They come in a few different forms, a version of which we have off to the right side over here. But the main thing to note is that there are these local and organic results that gobble up over 80% of the clicks that occur within a search engine. Right, that is the vast majority, and we need to be able to nurture that traffic in, not just into our website, but all the way down to conversion. We need to be able to identify how these searchers are searching, where they're located, and bring them in to ultimately drive some level of value that can be quantified to you guys as well as our clients. The more that we can do this and replicate this over the course of time, the more value we're going to showcase. And we've got two areas of thought, two facets that are available to us to tactically conduct some type of change to drive this benefit. That will be local and organic SEO, or the local and organic results.
Hey Sam, excuse me.
Sorry
Sorry to jump in here real quick. I have two questions here that maybe the audience is thinking about. One is the impact that COVID and the pandemic has had on SEO opportunities. You know, what kind of observations have you seen across all the different partners that we work with, and how have SMBs potentially shifted and migrated and optimized their media mix to potentially include more SEO? That's number one. And then number two, how have people's search habits changed with regards to COVID? I mean, before there used to be these searches that were conducted like Starbucks near me, Starbucks in a specific zip code. Are people changing the way that they search based on COVID restrictions?
100%, Jonathan. I mean, that's a really good point. And what we saw with COVID was obviously loads of confusion, loads of misunderstanding of what was going to happen, what was going on. And you know, the reality is that a lot of people decided, okay, I need to put a pause on everything. I need to retain as much as I currently have. And that in some cases meant, let's say, pausing some type of marketing budget. Well, the fallback was your organic ability to show up on local and these are local and organic results. And the unfortunate reality is that a lot of businesses didn't quickly realize that they didn't have a leg to stand up on. And SEO was the response. SEO was the absolute need. You know, the businesses that had been running it, or the ones that had stuck with it, had that flexibility. They were able to pull and reallocate budgets more effectively because they had the foundation in place to enable them to move forward in a clearer path. In terms of, you know, how that's ultimately affected search habits, I mean, I think we probably all have seen it or saw it in how it changed our day to day. SEO is not, like I said, it's not just about capturing new traffic. It's also, in a lot of ways, just breaking down barriers of communication. We are attempting to get ahead of a new audience, and what ultimately occurred with COVID is people changed their habits, right? They were looking locally. They were trying to identify who was open, who offered curbside pickup, who didn't, who offered online ordering, who didn't, right? And a lot of times it wasn't the places that they were going to on the way to work or the places that they went to habitually. It was the places nearby. It was the places in specific areas. It was the places that ultimately were over communicative in their ability to show up on local and the ability to articulate the way they were functioning during COVID within their website. These all fall into the realm of SEO, and you know, thankfully to say, you know, SEO is one of the kind of the marketing channels that was able to retain so heavily for those exact reasons.
I think it's important to note here as well, you know, a lot of our partners are focusing so much on programmatic display and how we tell a story of success with that. We dove into the reporting on that a couple months ago. And when people look at things like view through conversions or that post impression conversion, a lot of them don't realize that this is the actual channel that those conversions for display are actually happening through. So combining the forces of a programmatic offering with a paid, or excuse me, a local or even organic SEO offering is one of the best practices that you could actually do. So you can hit people both at the top of the funnel as well as to the bottom of the funnel there as well.
Yeah. 100%. We all go to Google to search for something, right? Might be in the thought process. We might be, you know, kind of building that thought process with some type of programmatic display. Once you actually go to convert, you go to Google, you know, in most cases, I suppose. When it comes to SEO, like I said, there's these two schools of thought, two schools of tactic. And the first one I'm going to cover is local SEO. When we talk about local, we're talking about, well, we're still talking about visibility, right? We're still talking about your ability to rank, your ability to show up in front of the right people, the relevant searcher. But the playing field is slightly tweaked. We're looking to maximize our visibility for the near me search terms, right? Coffee shops near me, salons near me, plumbers near me, emergency plumbers near me, right? All of these are relevant. And our playing field is this kind of this map pack that we have here. The Google Maps is the example that we have off to the right, but this comes in a lot of different forms, right? We want to maximize our ability to show up in Google. No question about that. 60 to 70% of localized traffic is searching right here. And they're doing it from their mobile devices, and they are ready to take action. Is one of the beauties of capitalizing on local SEO. But it's not just about working within Google. We want to make sure that regardless of where somebody is searching, we first off have control over the way that our business is represented online, right? And we're maximizing our eligibility to show up. When we can pull off those two aspects of local SEO, you end up getting some pretty incredible results. And they really do speak for themselves when we start to look into these case studies here. We've got a Colorado dispensary, in fact, here that we're looking at in this case. It had been around for several years, wasn't showing the growth that it wanted to, particularly in its local area. A little bit stagnant in terms of the data over the last 9 or so months prior to signing on with us in a local SEO capacity. Their goal was obviously to drive some type of activity. They just wanted to stir it up a little bit. Calls, visits to the location, online ordering, and these types of things. And through our local SEO efforts, we were able to maximize the results here. 4x increase in direction requests to the location, 3x in website visits, 4x in calls. Those are leads, right? Those are people taking action. We are putting dollars right in the pockets of our clients, and that's ultimately the result that we want to consistently do. And again, we're building the foundation, right? That is income, right? That's revenue that can be either reinvested into SEO in some other more aggressive format or elsewhere.
I like to kind of point one thing out here, Sam. Local SEO, especially through the AdCellerant platform, it's actually quite cheap. They're not too expensive, and it's actually a really easy kind of upsell tactic for anybody who's currently employing anything else for the advertisers that you're talking to. If you can get them into a local SEO product as well, it's easy, incremental revenue, and it's easy to add on to that as well, because they're going to see great results with this within the first couple of months. And when people kind of get hooked on it, they like it and they want to continue to do more of that. The reporting really tells just an astonishing story of exactly what you can get out of this. Look at the local results here. 4x increase in directions, 3x increase in website visits, and 4x increase in calls. Those are absolutely amazing things that you can point out to your clients to help them understand the value that they're really getting out of this.
Hey, Sam, what is the suggested retail rate for a local SEO campaign on a monthly basis?
Yeah, monthly basis would be anywhere from $200 to $600 per month, depending on how aggressive you wanted to go, right? $200 to $600.
So you're saying, I know our suggested retail rate is $250, but you've seen local partners mark that up to $600, pretty much based on the value it is that they're able to provide advertisers?
That's what we've seen before. Yep, exactly. But you also have that flexibility too. You can tack this on to other tactics. You can have a more holistic campaign. Local allows you to do that, build that foundation with that flexibility. And you know, Ben, that was a really good point with the results. The other thing to note through this, guys, is that we're looking at performance through COVID. Right, this is going into COVID, and we were able to still maximize the results here. It's in a lot of ways can be impermeable. Now the industry would play a role to a point here, but absolutely kind of setting that foundation, like I said. When it comes to organic SEO, if we draw a very clear line, local is offsite. Right, we're focused offsite, this offsite realm, all the other places that we could be showing up online, maximizing our ability to show up in these locations, and ultimately driving those leads, those searchers into ideally to the website or into some type of intentful action. Right, we want them to call us. We want them to come to our location, whatever it may be. But when we do drive them into the website, you know, we begin to talk about organic SEO, and organic is that owned asset, right? We can have full control over how we are represented online. And organic opens up a load of doors for us to kind of figure out, what types of people we want to show up in front of. When do we want to show up in front of these people? How high or low in the funnel are we going to be targeting them? And what do we ultimately want them to do once they get to the website? What's the action that we want them to take? This is what organic SEO is all about. It is far more robust. It is an extremely effective platform for any business that is looking to utilize their website as more of a kind of a lead driving asset for the business. And as far as what you can kind of expect out of this is when you get into more of your traditional SEO, right? When we talk about SEO, we talk about keyword rank, right? Your ability to show up in all these places. This is the mechanism that's really going to lean in extremely heavily on that. So if you've got a client that's like, man, I got to show up for this keyword and this keyword and this keyword and this keyword, organic is the answer. Organic is for sure the answer. Again, the results are there. And we see this time and time again. We're again using a dispensary as an example, but this is a different dispensary at a different point in time, also during COVID. And that's needless to say, we see this across any industry, whether it's financial services, medical like aesthetics or dental or something along these lines, any type of home services these days. Just absolutely crushing it when it comes to organic. You've got a number of, you've got really an open range to select from as far as who this applies best to. The results that we see here, oh, good.
I was going to say, I'm glad you said that, Sam, because a lot of people who are on this webinar probably realize these are the same two case studies that we had included in the Cannabis Network presentation that we did back on March 30th. Sure. And, we did this one to coincide with the holiday that was had on Tuesday when it was 4/20. But two, this is to show everybody that this is not just for a couple of different advertisers, not just for a couple of different industries. And you mentioned it already, Sam. This can be for literally everyone, whether it's financial services, banks trying to encourage people to open up checking accounts, open up a new HSA, home services, helping people remodel their bathroom, or if somebody wants to put a shower outside in their backyard, I'm working on something like that. So, we want people to understand this is for everybody, and it can get incredibly niche for that advertiser that you're talking to. So if you have a client who does have a lot of drawbacks about wanting to employ some sort of, just branding and awareness, they don't think it's going to drive the leads they want, having something to focus on those specific keywords, not just branded, but the relevant keywords in regards to their niche products or services, whatever they are, this is probably one of the most clutch products they could really leverage.
I was going to say, just to kind of add on to that, I know that we oftentimes, when we're having these types of webinars, we're focusing on a specific product. People always ask, what are the good verticals? Give me some good ideas for who we should prospect with this type of platform. And when it comes to SEO, I really do think that it is open to just about any type of vertical, whether it's B2B, B2C. There's a variety of different ways I think that we can leverage the SEO platform to produce some pretty cool results. And we talk specifically about cannabis, right? Cannabis, I think, is a vertical that is emerging and is becoming something that is available in a lot of other markets. And I know that a lot of our partners are trying to take advantage of revenue opportunities within that vertical to offset some of the challenges that COVID presented to them with advertising solutions and options and the revenue tied to that.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it is open range. There's so many ways you can reapply it. And the reality too is that there's so much involvement in kind of our analysis and research with just the customer as well as their landscape, that so many decisions can be made out of that information. Right? And then sometimes that information that comes out of this, these practices can be reapplied over and over and over again, not just over the course of time, but over the course of multiple marketing channels. So the residual value is absolutely there. So, the thing that also is, first off, very common, and I know Ben already alluded to this, is that people tend to hesitate when it comes to SEO. It can be very foreign, right? It can seem like a significant undertaking. But the reality is that your access to our team throughout the entirety of your partnership with us is what ultimately can reverse this mentality. And that's one of the things that I want to harp on in the next section here. We've got a number of pre and post sale tools that are available to you, and a number of pre and post sale resources that are available to you, whether that be to support with, kind of like a check-in discussion, walking through reporting, having progression calls to talk through the status of the campaign, have just genuine, candid conversations about what the client is seeing on their end, what we're seeing on our end, how that matches up or doesn't match up, and then how we ultimately should kind of refit or realign as needed. The kind of the one thing to kind of keep in mind is, SEO comes in a lot of different forms when you look out there, right? But the closer that your team can get to the business, the more successful that's going to be, and the faster you're going to hit that rhythm. One of the first things I'm going to touch on is kind of our pre-sale tool and what is available to you guys as our partners from a pre-sale aspect. And one of them is going to be the SEO audit. We conduct SEO audits for any business that you'd really like us to. These could be prospects that you're working on. They could be businesses that you are currently running different campaigns on and want to begin speaking about SEO. These tools, or these audits rather, can be requested. They're totally complimentary to you guys. They can be requested at any point in time. There's no limit on them, although if you're going to request a bunch at once, let us know. We work off of a first come, first served queue. But these audits are ultimately to kind of reveal general findings within the local SEO or organic SEO realm specific to that business, so that we can go back to that client and say, hey, here are all the things that we found. Here are all the opportunities that you have right there in front of you. And then here's how we can capitalize on them. Right. We've got two audits here, the local and the organic. Local is very, very straightforward. If it's a new business or it's under new ownership or they're not seeing the results they want, maybe you don't have a good relationship with them and you just want to get some kind of conversation going with them. Local is a really, really good kind of foot in the door discussion. It's also great for businesses that might just not have the budget for organic SEO. I'm thinking of like restaurants or bars or salons or something like this, maybe. The full audit is where we get a little bit more aggressive. This is perfect for somebody that maybe you're trying to win business away from. Maybe there's a competitor involved with a client and you're trying to pull that business away. Maybe you've built the relationship with them. Maybe they're our existing client and they aren't doing SEO. Maybe they're just in a really competitive space and we need to showcase our expertise with them. And all of this is, again, this is available to you. And I will say that these are 30 plus slides, these full audits, loads and loads of detail. But the reality is you don't have to worry about that, because we're going to be available to help you articulate the findings, articulate the opportunities. Every time an audit gets delivered back to you, you would get a link to our calendar, myself included. And we can take that call through to the end as an SEO member of your team, and that's where we really begin to showcase some really nice results.
Hey Sam, I got a couple questions here.
Sure.
Are these audits typically something that are available through other SEO services providers?
Sometimes you will see them, but they're kind of just like a scan of the site. You can, there's a number of SEO tools out there and you can kind of just plug a website in and get just kind of some results that get spit out at you. We manually go through and conduct these reviews because the reality is that there's a lot of industries or a lot of businesses rather that are trying to simplify SEO, and it's not exactly a simple thing, so we want to treat it as such. We need to reveal all of the opportunities and also showcase a more tailored resolution for the findings.
Cool. The other question I have is, if say we're presenting a full audit to an SMB, a partner's advertiser, can this SMB just take that audit and start implementing some of the stuff themselves and not even have to get any of the work done through us?
It'd be tough to do. It's designed to kind of showcase the general findings, the general opportunities. The action items are far more detailed, require loads of expertise and analysis. You'll even find, and as our partners, as you get into this process, you'll see, okay, we've got, like we have off to the right here, 1,000 errors and 5,500 warnings. It's not so simple to just go act on those things, and it's not even simple to take those and pass them along to somebody else. We're obviously trying to push the business towards us as being their SEO resource, and that's typically what happens. So when we get into, let's say we do make that sale, right? Let's say we do move on into kind of the post-sale activities. There's a lot that that goes on, right? We're going to get into some of these onboarding tasks that we have listed out here. Obviously, we want to make sure we have onboarding discussions with our partner, of course, you guys, to establish, where that that client sits, but then the client themselves. We want to make sure we get access to all the tools that we need to showcase the value of what we're doing, things that we can report on, and then we get into all the activities that ultimately inspire the strategy. The 115-point technical audit, right? This is something for us to work on, but we'll showcase to you. We don't have to go through the weeds, but you can at least see at a minimum the proof of the work that's being done. Get into the keyword research, identifying the search terms that we want to show up for, the focus selection, the page level audits. Again, all the things that are required to develop that strategy. And then the final result is the strategy itself. Here's what we're working on month after month after month after month. Here is what the deliverables look like. Here is exactly the things that we've been spending our time on. One of those, that's one of the things that you tend not to get in a lot of other places. A lot of people that I speak to personally are saying, I'm not really sure what my SEO team is working on. I'm not really sure the value that they're bringing. I don't think I've ever seen a report before, right? Do we provide those things? The answer is yes across the board to all those questions. And this may look, again, like a very daunting list of things that are going on. And you probably are thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to handle this month after month. You guys can be as involved or uninvolved as you'd like in these kind of relationships with your clients. If you want to facilitate the communication, you absolutely can. If not, you can sit back and we can handle the rest. But we are the ones that need to complete this work to showcase the true value, the long-term value, and the retention for a client.
Sam, real quick, you're telling me that I don't need to help you as a salesperson. I don't need to help you with that 115-point technical audit to begin with?
Absolutely not.
Do I need to help with your keyword research at all?
No, you don't.
So all you need me to do is help set up a couple phone calls, and you guys, do the rest for me, huh?
Yeah, I mean that's really it. I when it comes to the technical work and the keyword research, we understand when we're getting into the weeds. I think that's one point to really clearly make. And it's not necessarily your responsibility to understand all the weeds, right? That's our responsibility. And it's on us to articulate what's being done and the value it's going to drive and what the findings were, why we're focusing on this or that to the client. If you want to be the liaison of communication, cool, no problem. That's absolutely fine. We can absolutely work in that capacity. If you want to take a back seat, you want to make sure that all the things are running smoothly, everybody's getting what they need, that's cool too. You can see here, we kind of try to visualize it for you. You get a bit of a dotted line to your point person, your account manager, and that person would be available in whatever capacity that you guys kind of prefer as it relates to that account. And they're all, of course, available for all the things that you hopefully would expect as well. The strategy creation, making any adjustments to that strategy as needed. The progression calls, talking through the status of the campaign, the status of the deliverables, the reporting, making sure you've got the kind of the lingo you need if you are taking the liaison approach, the lingo and understanding you need to articulate that to the client, or we do it ourselves. And of course, available for things like crisis management. Hopefully that's not something we're dealing with, but it does come up in your general support. So that person is kind of that point person across all of these deliverables within the account. We don't need you involved in the technical audit. We don't need you involved in the keyword research. If you'd like to provide any type of feedback, any type of insight intake, we welcome it. That's a great way for us to get things started and find that rhythm, but absolutely not required. No.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ben, Sam, and everybody that's on the call, I can't stress enough. If you guys are currently using an SEO service provider, or you are considering an SEO service provider, I can't stress enough that the sales support, ask and inquire about what kind of sales support, post-sale, pre-sale sales support you're entitled to as a customer, because I do know that the support that we're offering our partners is all based here in the United States. We're made in America. Everything that we do is in Denver, Colorado. So when you do reach out to folks and you are working with folks, they're right here in Denver, Colorado, they're not located in a different part of the world. And also, I think it's extremely important because SEO, at least from my experience, the challenges I hear is that it's a very technical platform to understand, right? And it's a very technical platform, not to just understand, but to sell and to convey some of the effects and the impacts candidly and articulately, right? So I think that having that hand-holding opportunity available to you is something that is tremendous, because I look at SEO as being a grenade. You can kill a lot of fish with a grenade, but if you don't know what you're doing with a grenade, you might blow your arm off, right? So it's good to know that we provide those resources to help prevent teams from misrepresenting this incorrectly, but also it allows your teams to focus on other sales bottom line driving activity instead of getting caught up in the minutia of having to deal with processing some SEO opportunities, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and to your point, Jonathan, I mean, the ways that a lot of our partners function is they kind of get started with us. They dive in on the SEO audits, and they maybe do want to act as the liaison between us and the client, and get into the weeds with things. And they learn kind of that base level of knowledge. And then they kind of take a back seat, right? The trust is there, the understanding, the communication flow has been established, and then you can finally kind of take that to yourself. And that's just really based on preference. Again, we work autonomously. It's not it's not required by any means. So yeah. So final thing that I want to speak to is ultimately how selling SEO can benefit your organization, and it's important for us to focus on how selling AdCellerant SEO can kind of allow you to showcase additional value beyond the industry standard, and I think that's something that we're really good at is for what we're doing. And how quickly and effectively we're able to execute, and at the price point that we're able to execute, we're really setting a new standard. And this is going to benefit you in a handful of different ways, but you get a long-term compounding revenue, right? You get this long-term effect. There's incremental revenue that's always going to come in with the various sets of solutions that can get added on, or the various such of stepping stones that clients can take. And of course, it fits really well. It plays nice, if you will, with some of the other marketing channels that you got available to you. Some of the things that you can kind of take along with you, being an AdCellerant partner, you get to take along a lot of these metrics with you, right? When we're, again, it was mentioned early on when we were chatting about AdCellerant, right? What we're all about. And the reality is that we are attempting to develop quality at scale, right? And this is the constant with AdCellerant, and doing it in a way where we can obviously have kind of these measurable results and showcase those to you guys. When I say these metrics can come along with you, accessing AdCellerant SEO means you get access to these metrics. Our close rate when we're presenting SEO audits to clients, and I mean we as in me and my team, are 28%. 1 in 4, 1 in 3, 1 in 4 of those presentations is turning into compounded revenue. Right. And then with that, you get the retention, right? You can bring them in, that's step one, but can you hold on to them? Well, our retention rates are around 96%. And of course, your team is going to be the one kind of leading that charge alongside you, right? So you need to have somebody that you can trust, somebody that you communicate with, somebody that you can lean on. And we do our best to kind of support our team, because we know that their success is your success in a lot of ways, right? So we're continually training them, prepping them, ensuring that they're providing you all the things that you need, and just generally showcasing that level of support that is required. I wanted to touch on a partner case study. A partner, we've got several partners that have replicated the metrics like this, but this partner in particular started on with us just after COVID-19, right? And that was obviously a tough and confusing time for any business, particularly one that's getting started, getting off the ground. And this new business was very interested in SEO. They knew the importance of it, which was obviously great for us to see, but they weren't able to scalably sell it, right? They weren't able to scalably get it in front of clients and close business and ultimately have that recurring value. So when we stepped in with them, we kind of pressed upon them, hey, here are some of the things that we've been able to show success with. Here are some of the things that our past partners have been able to do in order to maximize growth in the shortest period of time. And this partner really did a great job kind of well, just stepping into the AdCellerant way, if you will, at least in the onboarding process. We did a bunch of onboarding discussions. They ended up requesting 29 audits over the course of 6 months. They were extremely aggressive, right? They jumped right on in head first, and they said, okay, SEO is going to be the thing. And that clearly showcased results for them. In the first handful of months, they were hovering around $450 a month with us. Today, they're at over 25,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and they're booked out to 2022. So that's at a minimum, right? That is a foundation, and a large one at that, right? And these are the types of things that can be replicated, not just with AdCellerant, but beyond, right? And we do this over and over and over again.
I like to kind of break it down a little bit here and just talk about how easy it really can be. So we talk about how this partner, I remember exactly who they are. We had a lot of fun with them. They, just like you said, Sam, they kind of adopted the AdCellerant way. They took our suggestions, and all our suggestions are typically is just get in there, just do these things. And it's as simple as requesting an audit. If you break down 29 audits over the course of 6 months, that's about 1 audit per week. So I think requesting an audit might take what, 5 minutes to do, Sam?
Yeah,
and then
so.
then either Sam or one of the specialists would come in and help pitch that actual client for them. And if you think about that, 29 audits, you know, Sam's closing 1 out of every 3 or 4 audits that he's presenting. That's about 10 of them that they close. That's exactly where that recurring revenue is coming from, all the way out through 2022. So this was one that we were really, really proud of. It's a great partner of ours. And also, it's a 2-person agency. Think about what we can do if we have sales teams of people. Ask my rep to spend 5 minutes a week, submit an audit, set up a phone call, and have AdCellerant come in to help out here. It's just a matter of getting started, I think, is the hardest part.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's a few ways in which we can help you guys get started. And the first thing to always be aware of, and this is something that I would commit to memory, because you're going to come across this in competitive discussions, you're going to come across this in prospective discussions, you're going to come across this just in the day-to-day. How do we differentiate ourselves? And I think the first things to note are first off, we dive in on data. Right? There's deep dive analysis that's occurring across the board and consistently, and this ensures that we're building a campaign that's got data in mind, right? We're not just kind of shooting from the hip. We're not exclusively following best practice. We are doing it with kind of the specificity of the account in mind. And that kind of alludes to there being this no one size fits all approach. You're going to find SEO agencies out there that are going to say, okay, well, how much should it be? And how much are you going to spend? And we're going to do 3 of these and 2 of those and 1 of these, and that's it. We're going to do that every single month for the course of the campaign. Well, you know, that's making SEO black and white. And unfortunately, SEO is gray in a lot of ways. And we need to be able to mold our situation, mold the campaign to them. Of course, you're going to get this ongoing alignment with search engines. You'll even see, if you're following any of our newsletters, you'll see updates around when, let's say, Google has made a change, aesthetic or mechanic, right? Whatever that change is, we want to know what it is. We want to know how to respond to it. We proactively are going to be making those responses within active campaigns. There's no keyword limitation. So if you've ever heard a client say to you, well, I only get 20 keywords, how many would I get with you? Your answer to that is, well, you know, there's no limit, right? That's not even a thing. And then of course, your detailed reporting touch points. We need to ensure that our clients understand what we're doing and the value it brings. The more we do that, and we've done internal studies on this, the more we do that, the longer term that relationship is built. And SEO, with those retention figures, you can really, really have a long-term relationship with these clients. That's recurring revenue over and over and over again, and building trust, right? Maybe SEO is the stepping stone to something much greater.
I think one that sticks out for me, Sam, because this is what I get a lot when I see different SEO providers in the marketplace, is they sell it based on the number of keywords you can get. And that doesn't work out great for the majority of businesses, I feel like, because there's so many different keywords out there. I mean, not everybody only sells lollipops, or what is it? They don't only sell sparklers and snakes. They've got a full set of fireworks that they sell, just like Joe Dirt would recommend. We need to have keywords that are able to support each and every single one of the different products and services that they have. So there's no keyword limitations there, and we truly mean it. We want to uncover and unlock every keyword opportunity that you guys have.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I like the Joe Dirt reference, by the way. All right, so last section we're going to go through here is really just the kind of the do's and don'ts, and then also where to get started, right? Where do we go from here? How can you kind of take some level of action? And again, it's not intimidating. Get that thought out of your mind. If you're dwelling on that, it really isn't. It's not tough to do. You have the resources. We're allowing you to have the resources available to make a significant move in the right direction. When it comes to kind of setting yourself up for success, always want to make sure we're setting the right expectations, right? Under promise, over deliver is kind of the general mentality here. Although we don't have something like page 1 guarantees, you're going to rank on the first page of Google for 20 keywords. SEO isn't about white and black. Again, it is about being, and people say this all the time, but it reigns true with SEO. We need to be an extension of your marketing efforts. Right? We need to be right off your hip. And that's where we show the most success and that long-term value. And again, to Ben's earlier point, SEO needs to be perceived as, in its most basic form, as an operational activity, right? If we're just doing this or that, we're making sure that we're not hindering something else, because we're dealing with Google and all their algorithms and such. So we need to make sure that we're kind of selling that. We also want to make sure that we're selling the value of kind of that our approach piece, right? What I just covered a couple slides back, and making sure we're getting into the data and there's no limitations to keywords, and you have team members available to support you through and through. Always a key piece to touch on. Identify the right prospects. We also touched on this a bit, but think about the different styles of businesses, different categories of businesses that you can really show good success with, some of which I've got listed here: financial services, home services, medical, e-commerce is a fantastic one. CBD is just blowing up these days. Anything related to cannabinoids is a big one, obviously, too. And then consider the ideal client. We've got 3 criteria for the ideal client: a long search-heavy sales cycle, a high-ticket product or service, or a semi-niche market or industry. These are not requirements. This is just the ideal scenario. You find a client that falls in, or a business that falls into those 3 categories, key for SEO. Absolutely key for SEO. And then, of course, lean on your resources. Lean on your resources. We are your resource in this case. The thing that I'd ask you to do today, if you're not familiar with the process, let us know. But the thing I'd ask you to do today is request an SEO audit. Think about maybe a client you're working on currently, a prospect you've been chatting with over the last few weeks, somebody who at some point said, I think I need to do SEO. Request an audit for them. Like Ben said, it takes 5 minutes. There's no cost, there's no limitation. Request the audit, and once that is provided back to you, you've got 2 options. You can schedule a preliminary audit review with myself, or kind of the equivalent, or you can schedule it directly with the client, and you can schedule it with myself and a client, to be clear. We are prepped and ready to roll in terms of white labeling ourselves as the SEO guy, the SEO guru, the SEO director, whatever you want to call us, it's fine. I got SEO King today. I'll take it. But we can join these calls. We can lead these calls. Any context you can provide us, perfect, great. Love that preparation, but absolutely not required. So step 1, grab that audit. And I will say, for just attending today, We wanted to make sure that you guys got a little bit of an exclusive offer. Two options for you to kind of take and pass along to your client, or take on and benefit yourself internally. If you're able to sell a 6-month organic SEO campaign by the end of May, we will waive all fees for the local one, for a local one, kind of a local SEO add-on for the first 3 months of that campaign. Similarly, if you sell your first local one campaign, you'll get the first month free. No questions asked, right? So go out there, start talking about local SEO, start talking about organic SEO, reap the benefits here. Let us know you saw this promo in this webinar, you were attending, and we'll make sure that you guys get that. Of course, all of our SEO campaigns, just a reminder, 6-month minimums, but reap the benefits while you can between now and the end of May.
That was awesome. I think we do have a couple of questions that are coming through here that we're going to start answering. There was one question earlier about the partner case study that we had, and it was for an agency. Like I said, it's a 2-person agency. However, I think that there's definitely a misconstrued perception of what kind of companies can go out there and sell SEO. It's not just for the agencies. We have publisher partners. We have broadcast partners who absolutely crush it selling SEO. Your advertisers, they want to make their lives as easy as possible. As business owners, they need to spend the time running their business and focusing on that. They don't want to talk with an agency and somebody to help them with their print, and somebody to help with their TV, and somebody to help with their digital. If they can get all of it from a single point of contact, you're creating an efficiency for them that is invaluable. Plus, you'll be able to pivot the entire strategy of their campaign if there is something strenuous that actually happens, like a pandemic potentially. So I don't want everybody to think that, oh, this is only something that our agency or that an agency can sell. If you have a media company at all, this is an amazing opportunity for you. Think about it, with just the number of salespeople, 5 minutes a week to submit an audit, give Sam an hour to go out, close it, pitch it, make it happen. And honestly, the value that it can provide in the long run here is just absolutely amazing. And I think some of these packages, thank you so much for putting those together for us, Sam. A couple of easy packages that are valuable for you as well. So use that to help get an advertiser across the finish line. Go in there without the potential incentive. And then if it takes the incentive to close it, by all means, I think that's a great idea. And I'm not sure if there was any other questions that were super important to touch on.
No, just answered a couple in the chat. So if you want to drop more in the chat, feel free, but yeah, not seeing anything new just yet. Definitely.
We'll wait another minute or so, but Sam, I think that was a very eye-opening presentation. Thank you so much for taking us through, soup to nuts there, what that pre-sale process is, the execution, the value for our advertisers, the value for our organizations trying to sell these things, and beyond that as well. And then also giving us a little leg up to try and close some sales with these incentives. Just so everybody knows, we will send out a follow-up to everybody that includes a link to the recording of this presentation, as well as the deck of the presentation. If you have any additional questions, feel free to either reach out to myself or Jonathan Muzio, or if you are a current AdCellerant partner, feel free to reach out to your dedicated account manager, account coordinator, or your main points of contact there, and we'd be happy to help facilitate a quick conversation to help you guys start activating some of these awesome opportunities. Thank you all so much. I think we're gonna call it for today. Good timing. Thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. Request those audits.
Request audits, #request audits.
All righty.